Greetings, magnificent souls, to the Lilli Bewley podcast, where we have open and honest discussions about ourselves. This is your host, Lilli Bewley, and I'm honored here to have conversations here with thought leaders, visionaries, healers, and even solo conversations with myself about things I am currently reflecting on. This is a place where we break down, break away, and break through our emotional trauma, allowing ourselves to attract health, build wealth, and live a peaceful life. We are tired of being sick and tired. We are tired, but we are not giving up. We know that there is something magnificent inside of us. And because we are fighting daily, hourly, and by the minute, fighting ourselves, our kids, our spouses, we have to do things differently. We have to break the cycle. We don't have a million chances. We have to be happy now. We have to find a way. So how do we do that? How is that possible? If you look around at what society is telling you, they tell you that what we're doing is impossible. Yet it's happening every single day. And it's happening through the practice and the love that, that we call awakening the magnificent soul. We are all magnificent souls, and these are our stories of healing. So in today's episode 85 is a response to a question that I got in the Epiphany Vault about my thoughts on healthy choices. But a few things before we get started. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts about this episode or anything you would like me to cover on future podcasts at epiphanyvault.com. Remember, it is a safe place, and I would welcome the discussion. Also, a request, please, if you are enjoying the show, please rate and share and review so that we can get the word out to more and more people who want to heal. And lastly, a reminder that the Align into Authenticity, my flagship program, is open, but by request only because it is close to being at capacity. And this is for men and women who want to get unstuck and have a healthy relationship. It could be relationship with others, with self, with job, but for those of you that are feeling kind of imbalanced and are looking for support to do that. Please reach out to me on Instagram at Lilli Bewley with questions. I'll put the link to that in the show notes as well. So before we get started today, I wanted to share with consent an entry that I had into the Epiphany Vault. And this listener had a specific question that I'm going to talk about for this episode today. It is a solo episode, and I have some really great guests coming, and I'm so glad this came in. So here is what he or she wrote. They say, I have an extensive history as a codependent. My parents both had alcoholic fathers. My brother was a rageaholic, and I married twice to guess what type. Through all of the above, I have sought growth in counseling and Al-Anon and raised two growth-minded, now young adults. I'm a daily work in progress, not perfect. Most recently, I had a lifelong soul sister cut ties after she made judgment again, as she did with two past quote unquote separations. These situations each related to her inability to stand by me during emotionally difficult times. I realized I forgave and held on in a loyal but unwarranted way. I think this is the final curtain, and I feel sad but at peace, a fool me once attitude. Thoughts on healthy choices? ? And this is from this listener. And this listener did ask to remain anonymous, so I have no way of contacting him or her about any further clarification. But as with all Epiphany Vault discussions that we have here in this space, I want to remind you that I'm not a doctor or a therapist. This is my opinion only, and it's not meant to be advice, only an open dialogue between myself and the listener. If you feel as though you need professional or medical advice, please seek assistance as you see fit. So about this Epiphany Vault entry, first, I can tell you that I can tell that you have done a lot of work on yourself. You're able to really clearly articulate your situation without blaming others, which is a massive, massive step in my development and the development now that I see with my clients on self-improvement and personal growth. So I want to commend you for that. And here's, for y'all listening, this is how I kind of know that. When we can state facts without maybe emotional charge, When we are able to clearly articulate facts as they are, this is a really good sign that you don't have your victim glasses on. And from what I've seen and from my experience too, it is harder to heal, almost, I'm going to put this out there, almost near impossible to heal with our victim glasses on. So again, I want to celebrate you, that listener that wrote in. So I'm going to celebrate that with you. And about your question. So this wasn't explicitly stated, but I think your question is also, how do I make healthy choices going forward? So I'm going to talk about that here. And if I heard that question incorrectly, please let me know. Please feel free to ask another question in the Epiphany Vault, and I would be happy to address that if I got that incorrectly. But one thing that really stood out to me was what you said about loyalty. You mentioned how you're catching yourself being loyal in a quote unquote unwarranted way. And I'm kind of curious about this. What is it? What is unwarranted? And based off what you said, it seems like it might mean that you're not getting the same amount of emotional support that you're giving, which is a very classic, like you mentioned, very classic codependent symptom. But it also sounds like you realize that and you're finally letting go of her, which is, again, great job and great step with that. There is this thing about loyalty, I feel like, in society that I'm really kind of sick of. I'm tired of the movies, the songs, the media, and all of a quote unquote, the rewards, achievement, likes on social media, or all of these things that perpetuate basically the idea that loyalty means loyalty at all costs. Loyalty at all costs. And even traditional kind of marriage vows emphasize loyalty until death. And I do have a problem with that, because what the vows don't account for is psychological or mental death, which I know you probably hear me on that because I was there too. And here's what I also have a problem with. Family structures and even societal hierarchies say that loyalty is inherent, meaning that I have to be loyal to my family, or in this case, I have to be loyal to my friend who I've known for decades. And I think that's wrong. For me, I think loyalty is just like trust. It's earned. And personally, this is where I used to struggle a lot in my life. Loyalty is not sacrifice. In my opinion, loyalty is a two-way street, but only with the right people. I'm going to say it again. Loyalty is a two-way street, but only with the right people. And it seems like the listener that wrote in, it seems like you're recognizing that, which I think is amazing. So that leads me to the question kind of becomes, what are your values in relationship? What are the values that are non-negotiable for you in your relationship? Whether that be in platonic friendship relationships, relationship with spouse, partner, significant other, job. And after you know that, how do you ask for what you need when it's framed around your values? Or what do you accept and what do you not accept when it's framed around your values? So that's a lot. And I'm going to say, like, the second part about needing and how to accept what you do and don't, just speaking directly to this listener, is if that's hard for you, I would encourage you to seek more counseling about that or more support, like either with me or someone like me, to help you find what your values are in relationship and or help you ask for what you need and accept what you don't. That's like next level codependency growth right there. Because what it is, and this happens a lot, and this happened to me, is that normally what happens is we kind of if we're really kind of in the personal growth mode, we figure out what we don't want, but we can't seem to figure out what we do want. And that is kind of what that next level is, I think. So especially kind of if you're seeing that pattern, maybe 3 or more times, I would say, if you can't do it alone, seek some support to do that. So let's go back to number 1, which is, let's talk about values. And this will tie into your question about making healthy choices. So I've realized in my personal growth that I was kind of like a feather in the wind. Like I didn't feel grounded in my identity and in my authenticity. And that applied to my values as well. So let's kind of stop here and define what values are. I found a reference online, and I'll link it in the show notes that says that personal values are the things that are important to us, the characteristics and behaviors that motivate us and guide our decisions. Pretty helpful. I personally think of personal values as kind of energetic boundaries, right? So now that I'm clear on my values, I filter my whole life, my relationships, my pursuits in business, my pursuits in love, my pursuits in friendships, anyone and everything, my family even, through this value filter. It is my personal blueprint for alignment, happiness, connection, and love. Here's the rub. The problem is that some of us were neither taught nor were we modeled that type of emotional intelligence. Perhaps we were not valued for our individuality or valued for speaking up. For me, I come from a family structure where it was either assimilate or die. So yeah, we probably had to assimilate to the environment when we were young by fitting in and not rebelling. Being a good girl or good boy was literally the way that we survived. Me too, our family dynamics. And this wasn't conscious, y'all. So please don't blame yourself. The problem is that today, these unconscious behaviors are here with us, present day, because we've learned them. Like loyalty, right? Unhealthy loyalty, in my experience and what I believe is an emotional trauma response. Unhealthy loyalty is emotional trauma response likely stemming from early childhood experiences. So today we might find it hard to be in relationships that are reciprocal for us because we accept people that are probably a lot like our early caregivers. The good news is all of that can change. So to the listener, when you ask me about making healthy choices, many times on our personal growth path, we find our personal values through experiences that are unpleasant, inauthentic, and harmful to us. And when you do that, you're kind of able to start trusting your intuition again. So if the listener is listening to this, specifically when you're asking about making healthy choices, and let's take this in the context of friendship, because that's the context that you asked in, I would start analyzing, what did you really like about your experience with that person, and but what did you really not like? And then after that, I would probably create a list of most important to least important. That would be a great start. But when you start to do this, right, you're kind of able to trust your intuition. That's the way that I was able to do that today. I continued to heal my childhood wounds, which is what we talked about. That said that I could have my own voice and my own choices. And then I was able to kind of filter my experience through what lit me up and what didn't. And it's a process, y'all. So be patient with yourself. But here's what no one talks about with intuition. The longer that we stay, and this is actually one of my mentors taught me this, the longer that we stay in situations where we are in split decision, where our highest self isn't honored and our wounded self is leading, our intuition starts to fade. And if you're like me, this is over decades. So it feels like that we are really, really detached from our intuition. Like if you can think of how many times that you have been in situations where you felt like you should have left, but you stayed a lot longer than you should have. Like there have been multiple times for me in my life. And again, I feel like that's a very nuanced conversation. So the opportunities to start to begin making healthy choices is start to have a relationship, to start to calibrate your connection with your intuition in that way. Your values will come. All of this, kind of steps I laid out within this 10 or 15 minutes does happen, but it takes time. I do think that this is actually a much faster process if you are in a container of support, like I mentioned, with a therapist, a counselor, coach, like someone like me or what have you, whatever it is. And then we start to realize, we start to be introspective about, oh, I really like that about that person. What was it that I really liked them? Like in this instance, they really asked me questions about what was going on with me or whatever, like whatever that specific thing is for you. So I hope that helps. And I want to say that this is for everyone. And although we may feel like that we are unfixable, we're broken, we have had a lot of traumatic experiences happen to us. If you've gotten this far on the podcast and you're listening to me still, you can do it just as much as I could, just as much as that person that you follow could as well. And I do think that when you do start to be able to make those healthy choices intuitively, it's like the weight comes off your shoulders. It's like this, you become like really free and unshackled, and you kind of just like live in your fullest expression and authenticity and joy and love and all that good stuff, I hope that helps. And reach out to me via the Epiphany Vault if this brings up something for you, or if to the listener specifically, if this didn't answer your question. But thank you for spending time with me. I'll see y'all next time.